A very, very beautiful Monday morning to you and a warm welcome to the press reaching you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Olamide Al-Hassan and today is the 29th day of September 2025. And it looks like we're already warming up for Nigeria's Independence Day, the 65th Independence Day. It's been 65 of walking this path, 65 years of walking this path. How far have we come? How well have we done? That's a conversation that'll probably be so much on the radar this week. But right about now, let's first give you updates on the weather forecast so you know how best to plan your day. You know how we do it on the press. First, we'll give you updates on the weather. We'll tell you what made it to the front page of the national dailies, and then we'll bring in interesting guests to analyze most of the top stories that we read out to you. So right about now, the weather forecast begins. And we're going to the corner to get started. In Kano State this morning, it says it's 23 degrees Celsius on the average. It's partly cloudy. The highest is at 33 degrees Celsius and the lowest is at 23 degrees Celsius. And sunny conditions are expected around 8 a.m. as wind gusts are up to 19 kilometers per hour for this morning in Kano State. And from Kano now to Kaduna State. Kaduna says 22 degrees Celsius on the average. It's cloudy. The highest is at 29 degrees Celsius and the lowest is at 22 degrees Celsius. And partly cloudy conditions are expected around 2 p.m. as wind gusts are up to 13 kilometers per hour in Kaduna. And from Kaduna now, let's go to Imo State. Imo State says this morning that it's about 23 degrees Celsius. It's currently drizzling. Beg your pardon. The highest is at 29 degrees Celsius and lowest is at 23 degrees Celsius. And cloudy conditions are expected around 6 p.m. as wind gusts are up to 10 kilometers per hour in Imo State. From Imo now to Port Harcourt. Port Harcourt says 23 degrees Celsius on the average. It's currently drizzling. The highest is at 28 degrees Celsius and lowest is at 23 degrees Celsius. And cloudy conditions are expected around 6 p.m. as wind gusts are up to 11 kilometers per hour in Port Harcourt. And now to the commercial nerve center of Nigeria, Lagos State. It says 24 degrees Celsius on the average. The highest is at 28 degrees Celsius and the lowest is at 24 degrees Celsius. And cloudy conditions are expected around 11 a.m. as wind gusts are up to 20 kilometers per hour in Lagos. And to the Federal Capital Territory, where you're currently watching us from, Abuja. On the average, about 22 degrees Celsius. It's cloudy. The highest is at 29 degrees Celsius and the lowest is at 22 degrees Celsius. And thunderstorms are expected around 4 p.m. as wind gusts are up to 7 kilometers per hour in Abuja. Well, that's it for the weather forecast, just so you know how best to get your day started and how best to get you all planned out. So from the weather forecast now, we head on to see what made it to the front page of our national dailies. And for this morning, our first stop will be on the national economy paper. The national economy says that despite government's 1 trillion naira loan disbursement, 96% of MSMEs still lack access to funding. In case you didn't hear that properly, I'll repeat that. On the front page of National Economy, it says, despite government's 1 trillion naira loan disbursement, 96% of MSMEs still lack access to funding. Manufacturers says high interest rates inconsistent, policies stifling sector's growth. That's on the front page of the paper for your read this morning. Unity Bank take over advances as Providus secures 34% Amcon stake. And that's on the front page. Now, MPA APM terminal signed $60 million MOU to electrify container freight. And that's on the front page as well. Recycling as Nigeria's untapped job creation engine. And that's on page 30 for your read. I'll let you pick a copy of the National Economy to find out what the picture story says. So moving on now, we head on to the Daily Monitor. Daily Monitor says, Dangote Refinery, Pengassan orders nationwide strike over sack of workers. Assures action won't cause fuel scarcity. Union attend FG's meeting today. FG appeals to oil sector union to shelve industrial action. TUC demands reinstatement of sacked Dangote Refinery workers. The truth is that there's no such story as it's not going to affect fuel. It is the reality that there is already fuel scarcity. As I speak to you this morning, I experienced the same thing. So there's already scarcity everywhere. So to say there won't be first scarcity, I'm already a victim as of this morning. And I saw the kind of crowd of people waiting on the roads. A lot of people are probably going to get to their places of work really late today. So this is really going to affect everybody. So we really do hope that somehow, some way, this strike can actually be shelved so that we can have a peaceful movement, peaceful coexistence, and everybody can go about their daily activities. Else it's really going to affect us. We shouldn't be talking about independence and still be dragging stuffs like this at this point. Now let's move on to other stories on the front page of the Daily Monitor. Nigeria seeks AFDB support on SAB's Grain Legacy Initiative. And now Sarah urges Tinubu to disclose appointment process of INEC chairman, and that's on page 6. NIMET forecast 3-day rain and thunderstorms nationwide, and that's on page 4. Now, Osun local government crisis. Nudge directs workers to continue staying away from work, and that's on page 4. NDLEA arrests 2 drug kingpins with consignment of cocaine and others, and that's on page 5. FG denies claims of religious genocide in Nigeria, says it's false and divisive. That's on the front page for your read this morning. And now let's head on to the Voice of Liberty to see what it has in store for us for this morning. Voice of Liberty says Dangote refinery, blackout imminent as Pengassan declares nationwide strike. Now, the Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria has directed its members nationwide to withdraw their services following the alleged mass dismissal of some Nigerian workers by Dangote refinery. And that's on the front page for your read this morning. Abuja to Kaduna train service to resume next week, says NRC. Kano governor got more allocation 6 months than I received in 8 years, says Ganduje. And that's on the front page. Now, Northerners have no reason to vote for Tinubu again, says ex-NHIS boss Yusuf. ADC knocked Tinubu over UN Security Council agenda, and that's on the front page. Nigerians must know your candidates for INEC chairman, Serap tells Tinubu. Now, alleged money laundering. Nigerians abroad petitions U.S. Attorney General demand Wike's extradition. That's also on the front page for your read. Insecurity. Remove Kwara, Kogi West from northern classification. Reclassify them as Yoruba territories. Yoruba Union urges Tinubu, and that's on the front page for your read this morning. And also other stories on the front page of The Guardian. The Guardian says Nigeria risks 14.7 billion naira daily loss. Fuel crisis as Dangote Pengassan rift deepens. And that's on page 5. Otedola asks federal government to release subsidy panel report on marked real beneficiaries, and that's on the front page. Insecurity. ADC says Tinubu unqualified to seek UNSC seats, and that's on the front page. Federal government orders urge unity, shared responsibility at 65th Independence Service, and that's on page 3. Osun urge PDP query FG demand details of released local government fund. But punishing suicide attempts undermines mental health reforms. That's on the front page of the Guardian newspaper for this morning. Now, SEC warns of AI investment scams targeting Nigerians, and that's on the front page for your read this morning. Resident doctors issue federal government 30-day ultimatum over unmet demands. Interesting. And now bandits kill 10, kidnap several in Kwara State. FG dismisses religious terrorism allegation, and that's on page 46 for your read. Well, I'll let you pick a copy of The Guardian to find out more on what the picture story has to say. And now to the Daily Times for this morning. It says FG urges Pengassan to shelve strike, resolve feud with Dangote. That's on the front page of the Daily Times newspaper for this morning. FG urges Pengassan to shelve strike, resolve feud with Dangote, and that's on page 2 for your read this morning. ADC to Tinubu seeking UN Security Council seat baseless without securing lives of Nigerians, and that's on page 2. Withdraw appointment of APC members as reg, Sarah tells Tinubu, and that's on page 6. Rabies Day. 70% of dogs in Nigeria require vaccination to contain rabies, and that's on page 5. Now, CBN boosts Naira with $70 million FX sales as reserves hit $42.2 billion, and that's on page 13 for your read this morning. Now, SEC raises alarm at over AI-generated investment scam, and that's on page 7 for your read this morning. And that's it on the front page of the Daily Times. And now let's move on to the Daily Trust newspaper for this morning. The Daily Trust says Dangote Pengassan feud. Nigerians oppose service disruptions. Nigerians oppose service disruptions, and that's on the front page for your read this morning. And now gunmen kill 12 in fresh Kwara attack, and that's on the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper for this morning. Gunmen killed 12 in fresh Kwara attack. That's on the front page. And now Pencom raises PFA's capital to 20 billion naira. That's still on the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper as we head on to other stories. 2027, Jonathan will contest and return to Villa, says Ghana. Interesting developments. And that's on the front page for your read as well. Federal government others counter claims of Christian persecution in Nigeria. That's on the front page as well. Otedola to Umar Sani, your claims on subsidy false. Zenon took nothing from Nigeria, from federal government, I beg your pardon. And that's it on the front page of the Daily Trust. And now to the Leadership newspaper to see what they have in store. And our Leadership says government steps in to resolve oil union Dangote refinery row. Government steps in to resolve oil union and Dangote refinery row. Labour Minister facilitates meeting between parties today. That's on the front page of the Leadership newspaper for this morning. Fears of electricity shortage rise as oil workers down to Monday. And that's on page 4 for your read this morning. And our union access federal government of illegal, I beg your pardon. Union accuses federal government of illegality over release of Osun Council funds. That's on the front page of Leadership newspaper for this morning. And our SEC raises the alarm over AI-generated investment scams, and that's on page 29. Hunger 80, AFDB backs Nigeria on expansion of agric zones to 24 states. And that's on the front page for your read this morning. Nigeria's challenges didn't start with Tinubu's government, says Akume, the SGF. No genocide against Nigerian Christians, says Minister. Jonathan will contest 2027 election on PDP platform, says Professor Jerry Ghana. I didn't say that. And our village heard 11 vigilantes killed by gunmen in Kwara, says police, and that's on page 4. Approval of Chinese C919 for domestic airlines, and that's on the front page for your read this morning. Nigeria at 65, Jonathan Osibajo Jega others to demand bold electoral reforms. And that's on page 27 for your read this morning. And now let's head on to other papers. For this day, on this day, it says Ghana, Nigerians now know the difference after Buhari, Tinubu want Jonathan back. That's on the front page of this day newspaper. And now let's head on to the Vanguard. Vanguard says toxic harvest. Hazardous pesticides harm food production exports. Hazardous pesticides harm food production exports, according to experts. And that's on the front page. As strike begins today, federal government wades into Dangote Pengassan face-off. Dangote blasts Pengassan. Only recall of members can stop strike, says Pengassan. And that's on page 5. Editors to security agencies stop misusing cybercrime against journalists, and that's on page 8. Custom commences one-stop shop cargo clearance, and that's on page 4. Ponzi. SEC raises alarm over AI-generated investment scams, and that's on page 9 for your read. Now, just above the nameplate, INEC disclosed details of selection process for Yakubu's successor. Serap asks Tinubu. Disclosed details of selection process for Yakubu's successor. Serap asks Tinubu, and that's on page 10. Jonathan will contest return to Aso Rock in 2027 on PDP tickets, according to Jerry Ghana. That's on page 13. Nigeria suffering and bleeding at 65, says Raf Obioha. And that's on page 14 for your read this morning. No genocide against Christians in Nigeria, says federal government. And now to the front page of the Nigerian Tribune. It says federal government has paid Osun State's held local government allocations into APC members' accounts. Nudge reviews. Describe action as bizarre, scary, unprecedented. APC slams Nudge, says allocation were paid into local government council's accounts. And now PDP challenges APC to disclose accounts into which LG allocations were paid, and that's on page 18. Now, federal government summons Pengassan Dangote to reconciliation meeting as TUC mobilizes affiliates for nationwide strike action, and that's on page 19. Dangote refinery, lawless Pengassan, its lies and terror tactics, that's on page 3, 4, and 5. Nigeria faces reduced number of banks as mergers acquisition pressure intensifies. NDLEA arrests 2 drug kingpin with consignments of cocaine, heroin, meth in Lagos, and that's on page 27. Now, over 90% of Nigerians still uninsured despite NHIA Act, says Falano. Security operatives rescue 8 kidnapped victims in Kogi. That's on page 27 for your read this morning. Oba Ladoja unfolds economic plan for Ibadan land. Assures local foreign investors of enabling environment. Says Ibadan harbors religious crisis. Let this coronation be the beginning of a new renaissance for Ibadan. That's according to Awolowo Dosumu, and that's on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune. And now from the Nigerian Tribune, we head on to the Daily Independent. Daily Independent says experts say much remains to be done despite Nigeria's GDP jump. Experts say so much remains to be done despite Nigeria's GDP jump. And that's on the front page. There's no religious genocide or persecution in Nigeria, says federal government. Otedola to Umar Sani, I was whistleblower, not beneficiary of subsidy fraud. Business mogul narrates how he alerted Jonathan Saraki, vows to pursue 1 billion naira damages against ex-presidential aide. And that's on the front page for your read this morning. Now, SEC raises alarm over AI-generated investment scams in Nigeria. Florida property allegations have nothing to hide, Wike insists. Says Showore being sponsored to tarnish his name. Action urged to protect local farmers, boost food self-sufficiency. And now 15 trapped, 13 dead in Zamfara mine collapse. FG leads rescue operations, and that's on page 6. Federal government summons Pengassan Dangote refinery over fresh face-off. TUC gives conditions to suspend strike, that's on page 29. Now, Serap gives Tinubu 7 days to review selection process for new INEC chairman. It's absurd to CQ and Security Council seats while bandits kill Nigerians, ADC tells Tinubu, and that's on page 6 for your read this morning. And now my final stop this morning is on the front page of the Nation newspaper. The Nation says federal government intervenes in Dangote Pengassan row. That's on the front page of the Nation. Federal government intervenes in Dangote Pengassan row. Oil workers union strike call commendable. Oil workers condemnable, I beg your pardon. Oil workers union strike call condemnable, says Dangote refinery. And that's on the front page. Release marketed subsidy report to unmask real beneficiaries. Otedola urges federal government. Zenon never traded in petrol, could not claim subsidy. Umar Sani's claims mischievous and baseless. That's on the front page for your read. BOI upscales data protection, banks bags ISO 227,701 certification, and that's on page 28. No discussion yet on zoning in ADC, says spokesman, and that's on page 4. 24 states to benefit from AFDB's backing on agric expansion. The ABC of NPC's decision on rates to curb inflation, and that's on page 2. Now, Nigerian sacrifice paving way for economic renewal, and that's on page 6. No religious genocide in Nigeria, says Idris. Omokri faults U.S. talk show host on alleged killing of Christians, and that's on the front page. Now, PSC mourns as former chairman Pari Osayonde dies at 88, and that's on page 6 for your read this morning. Well, the picture story you see here is the same picture story as on most of the papers. What we see here is General Christopher Musa, the Chief of Defense Staff, and Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akome, Representative of the FCC Minister, Dr. Nancy Nathan, Head of Civil Service of the Federation, Esther Didi Walson-Jack, and Representative of First Lady Oluremi Tinubu, Mrs. Kikelo Moadeni, President of the Senate, Senator Goodluck Jonathan, and his wife Ekaite, with a giant anniversary cake to mark Nigeria's 65th independence anniversary after the interdenominational church service at the National Ecumenical Christian Center, Abuja, yesterday. Well, that's it on the front page of the Nation newspaper, and that's it on the front page of our national dailies. It's time now for a quick break, and we're going to be joined by our guests who help us analyze on most of the top stories we read out to you. Do not also forget that this is the segment where our phone lines will then be opened for you to join in and join the conversation. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back, viewers. You're still on to the press, and we're reaching you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. We've now been joined by our guest, Habib Gajo, public affairs analyst, who help us analyze on most of the top stories we read out to you earlier. This is also the segment where our phone lines are open for you to call in and let your voice be heard. Let's know what's happening in your area. Are you also experiencing any sort of fuel scarcity today? It's Monday after all. Good morning, Mr. Gajo. How are you doing today?
Good morning, Olamide. Good morning, Nigerians.
It's so good to have you in the studio today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And thank you for always showing up.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Gajo, there's a lot of stories that made it to the front page of our national dailies for this morning, but let's start from the one that bites the most, at least that every single Nigerian is currently experiencing, which is the issue of, okay, let me start with what made it to the front page, or how it is described on the front page, before I express how I feel about it or my personal experience about it. It says, Pengassan, Dangote Refinery, Pengassan orders nationwide strike over sack of workers. The writer to the story says, assures action won't cause fuel scarcity. Union to attend FG's meeting today. FG appeals to oil sector union to shelve industrial action. TUC demands reinstatement of sacked Dangote Refinery workers. Now, Pengassan is saying, except they are never going to go back on this strike, except their staff are actually being reinstated. And there's been a lot of issues around the strike starting today, and in fact, if you get to most filling stations right now, it's not that they're not open. They are open, but they're not selling. So you're going to be there queuing up. In fact, most of us had to leave our vehicles hanging around and then find another means to get to the office. Most of the people that are even found on the road, there are lots of people on the road, fewer cars moving because there's no fuel. But these people says it's not going to cause a strike. Talking about what's happening between Dangote and Pengassan, should it really be so much so that it begin to affect every single Nigerian like this?
Well, first of all, let me advise Nigerians. They should fill their tank. If you
That's if you get a chance to buy the fuel.
Yeah. You see, last week I was having full tank.
Okay.
So this week, it dropped down to half tank. So when coming out, I wanted to buy fuel to fill my tank, as you understand, so that I will not run out of fuel. Mm-hmm. I look at so many filling stations are closed down. There is one, I think 2 filling stations, but the queue is too high, is too long. I haven't joined. I came like that, but immediately I left here. I will fill my tank, because this crisis, as we are seeing, it's small, but it will later metamorphose into a big issue. in the sense that DSS, the Department of State Security, intervened and broker fees, but unfortunately, the Nupen and Pengassan and Dangote are not respecting that truth agreement, because some of them saw that the agreement favors Dangote most.
Yes.
You understand? So, and Dangote is a private company. Nupeng and Pengassan should understand that is no longer an NPC. This is a personal business. When this man was spending his money to build the refinery, he spent almost $20 billion to get his refinery. Running his refinery has become a challenge, sabotaging the refinery up and down. Without Dangote, Nigerians, we are going to suffer. Dangote has his trucks, which Nupeng wants him to join the union, which has nothing to do with the union.
So what about the issue of sacking the Pengassan staff now?
Yeah, Pengassan are oil workers. You understand? Nupeng, Pengassan are oil workers. So the issue is, if a private cooperation, you understand, says this is my rule in my own company.
Of course.
There is so many companies that don't allow their staff to join union.
And they said this ones were sacked barely 24 hours after they joined the union. Yes,
because of these issues. Today, Dangote sack those workers that join the union. Tomorrow he will employ more people who will work for him. You understand? So it's not like an NPC where you drag an NPC and sabotage it and create fuel scarcity and create black market and so on and so forth. So that era has already been gone. You see, anytime fuel PMS is affected, millions of Nigeria will be affected. That is why when the president removed subsidy, you understand, people suffered. We queued, we bought fuel very expensive, up to the 2,000 naira per liter in some state. You understand? Yes. Now with the intervention of Dangote refinery, the thing is going down to 910 naira. So Dangote has not failed. Dangote has not do this service to the state. He serviced the state of Nigeria economically, psychologically, and also bringing the market into bringing the market closer to the people. Anybody can go to Dangote and buy. Of course. Unlike NNPC. You understand? So I think Nupeng should look at the interests of Nigeria and the suffering of Nigeria. They accused Dangote of monopoly, and now they are the one monopolizing the transportation of the PMS. You understand? So I think there is a double standard here. So they should focus on what benefit Nigeria and what will boost Nigerian economy and what Nigerians the way of life of Nigeria. This Nupeng and Pangassan, if this strike continue even our electricity will be affected.
Of course.
So if all these two components of the economy are affected, electricity and PMS, then it will affect it will rise the price of the commodity in the market, and which we don't know. We hope they will resolve
because
immediately.
Because usually affects every single thing in our lives. But then, Mr. Gajo, a quick one is, now that there are claims of, how true, first, is a claim that it is those members who joined Pangassan, those oil workers from Dangote Refinery who joined, Pangassan, that were relieved of their duties, that were sacked. But according to Dangote, it's a reorganization in its company. So how true is that claim on ground?
You see, from the beginning, he said that no, I will not condone strike in my own company. If you know you want to be in a union, you better live quietly. And they refused. They thought it was an NPC refinery where they will shut down. And he sacked them immediately without hesitation. That's how it is. So if you are going to work with Dangote or Dangote Refinery or Dangote Sugar or something like that, you have to go through the laws of his companies, you understand, so that you will not sabotage, because it's a sabotage. How can somebody employ you who will pay you high, better than any oil company in Nigeria, and you say you are going for strike because your union says they will go strike?
Well, they say that the unions tend to protect the workers' rights.
Yeah, whatever they will say, protecting the workers' life or
they are right.
They are right. I think they are too mischievous, because the previous strike with labor union, you understand, Nigerian Labour Congress, we have not seen TUC joining that strike. So they sabotage labor union for Nigerians to suffer. Even when the labor union was saying, President, reverse back the price so that we would discuss, but Nupen refused. Pengassan refused. You understand? Trade union refused to join. You understand?
Very well.
They allow federal government to do what they want to do and suffer Nigerians as long as they will get what they want to get. And for Dangote said, look, the money, the charges you are charging for these truck drivers and your workers as a union members, I will pay. You understand? But they are bent hell on sabotaging the Nigerian economy.
So bad. Honestly, the question now is, we already know the implication of all of this.
Yes.
In fact, it's beginning to affect everybody. You can't get to where you're going to. Things are going to go high because the price of fuel is going to increase. Now that filling stations are not selling, you find black markets already out there, selling fuel to people, and buying black market, you already know the implication of it. So what do you foresee, like a dispute resolution? What do you think they're going to eventually do? Do you think they're going to call back those staff that have been relieved of their responsibilities? And if it is perhaps linked to being because of their unionization, do you think that there will be some sort of law that backs them up? So that's like two questions.
You see, there is labor law union and there is a trade organization, trade union act, labor union act, and Bank of Industry Act. You understand?
Very well.
Those laws are there. They are very open to everybody, including investors like Dangote. So if Dangote said, I'm following the law, and I'm not going to follow somebody's or a union law, he's right. And you can't intimidate me or harass me and you think you will make me nervous. No. You understand?
Well.
The sections are very, very clear to all Nigerians. Section 12, subsection 6, A, B, C, D, all settle the matter. You understand?
Very well.
But why are they want to go to strike in this critical time that Nigerians are being hit by economic downtrodden or economic recession or economic meltdown, and you want to heap another problem to Nigeria? No, I don't think.
So what do you think is going? What do you foresee as their disputes? Maybe they should come to a compromise. What do you foresee?
They should go back to the round table. I learned that the Minister of Labor Union and Minister of Labor and Employment and some government delegation will converse today for a meeting to solve this issue. But let me say, Dangote has a right to hire and fire his company. He's the one that is paying them. You understand? So if you join a union that want to sabotage me, I will not hesitate to fire you.
Wow, this is just, it's a lot in one plate, actually.
Yes.
Because we really do hope that, you know, looking forward to the 65th Independence Day, which is on Wednesday. Today's the 29th. The first is just around the corner. So dealing with issues like this doesn't even seem to set us on the right path.
And Pengassan took this decision very close to where Nigeria or a government will have an occasion or celebrate something. Now, if Dangote, for example, now Dangote is supplying with his trucks, you understand, he has the PMS reserve that will not dry up maybe in 6 months. Let them go. Dangote will supply. You understand?
Very well.
He has his own trailers. He don't use Pengassan trailers. It's independent marketers and oil marketers that are buying, using their trucks to buy from Dangote. But if a filling station want to, you understand, want Dangote to supply him, Dangote will supply. That's what it means. And secondly, they should know that according to that law, that act of the Labor Act in Section 12, they should, Pengassan and Nupen should be very careful. Dangote refinery is in a free zone.
Free trade zone, yeah.
You understand?
Very well.
That free trade zone gives him the leverage to do what he want to do. You understand?
What kind of leverage is that?
To allow every marketer to come and buy.
Okay.
You understand? To invest, to participate. You understand? So his role is very minimal, very small, according to the act. You understand? Because is a free trade zone. You understand? So he is not like there is no obligation that he has to meet with any industrial.
Yes, I understand. He's not compelled to do.
Yes.
Okay.
They should understand that. You understand? So you cannot threaten him. Okay. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to run his business. It's not an NPC.
All right.
That will be shut down.
Let's move away from that a little bit. We really do hope that they get to shelve their grievances and Nigerians get a breather, especially as the Independence Day is fast approaching, because we wouldn't want to have queues here and there on a day as important as that. Now, let's quickly take a look at what made it to the front page of the Daily Sun. Quite an interesting headline on the political scene. It says, Jonathan will return as president. I didn't say that. That's coming from Jerry Ghana. It says, former minister confident of ex-president's re-election as PDP candidate. Saraki hails peaceful congress in Kwara. Do you really think that former President Goodluck Jonathan would come back and run on the platform of the APC for presidency come 2027? Let's get your honest opinion.
APC?
PDP.
Well, the way the headline captured it is Jonathan will run 2027, right?
He's not just running, he's returning as president according
to... you see, you have to run before you return.
Of course.
But
I'm just saying, to the extent of the
let me give you some examples. John Mahama of Ghana was defeated, and today he came back as a president. It's possible.
So what are you saying?
You understand? Rabi Musa Konkoso lost in 2003. He came back in 2011. You understand?
So is that
Ayo Fayoshe, the same thing.
Okay.
He came back.
President Muhammadu Buhari was defeated, and then he came back and he ran and he won.
You understand? So there is all this thing can happen.
Okay.
But where Jerry Ghana is taking his own conversation, I don't see Jonathan coming back. You understand? And also the way Jerry Ghana was or has been talking about PDP, I think even Jerry Ghana and President Jonathan, they lost touch with the PDP as a political party.
What do you mean by they lost the touch?
Good. You see, when Jonathan lost the election, in PDP constitution as amended, the president that left office is the one that will head the board of trustee. He's going to be the chairman of the board trustee. Jonathan refused to accept that. So he refused his responsibility, constitutional responsibility of his party, you understand, and participation of his party. Secondly, there is no NEC meeting or any stakeholder meeting that Jonathan participated since 2011. 2015 when he lost election.
Statesman, yes.
You understand? There is several committees that were formed, and they went to Jonathan and met him to seek for the advice. How are we going to reform our party, or how are we going to solve this problem? He refused. You understand?
Very well.
So PDP, and he has never, since 2015 he left, he has never contributed a dime to PDP. We have seen him supporting President Muhammadu Buhari in 2019. We have seen how Buhari wanted him to return to APC until or unless when people like Erufai, people like Bola Ahmed Tinubu, BC Akande, and so many on, they say, no, we will not allow this intruder to enter into our party or to form a government. You understand?
Very well.
That's how they endorse Bola Ahmed Tinubu as a president. You understand? Day before yesterday, the same President Jonathan, the same Jerry Ghana that is saying that Jonathan will contest in PDP 2027, we saw President Jonathan and former Vice President Atiku Abubakar meeting with Senator David Mark, who is an acting chairman of ADC.
So
what are they discussing?
So what do you think this means?
So I think Jerry Ghana is talking to himself. In PDP, nobody talks about Jonathan because he has done so many things that it will be very hard for PDP to accept him. Well, they will forgive him, but it's going to be very hard to accept him. So Jerry Ghana has his own mouth. He can talk what he wants to talk. You understand? Mm-hmm. It's the same Jerry Ghana that says Peter Obi will run in PDP. You understand? Mm-hmm. And Peter Obi refused. And from the look of things, Jonathan did not alter a word. And we have seen him in a closed-door meeting with David Mark, Atiku, and him himself. You understand?
Very well.
It's just a political statement that Jerry Ghana is propagating. And even Jerry Ghana himself, there was a time that a convention took place and his candidate, Professor former Foreign Affairs Minister, former ambassador to the United States of America under, I think, Obasanjo and Eradua, I forgot his name, one of the professors contested who happened to be a friend to Jerry Ghana, and Jerry Ghana supported him. When he lost, they decamped to SDP. You understand? And when they decamped to SDP, they met Donald Duke running for the president, and they sabotaged him, and they scattered the party, and they lost everything. So who is Jerry Ghana working for? Okay.
But away from Jerry Ghana's statements and away from maybe Jonathan running on the platform of the PDP, possible running on the platform of the PDP, do you think that Jonathan as an individual, with his public perception at the moment, in fact, his global perception at the moment, is going to be willing to stake everything and run for presidency in 2027?
You see, when the time comes, he will run, but he has to correct all these things that I mentioned. You understand? He must participate.
He has to do this if he wants to run under the party. So what if he's not running under that party? Because we know that some individuals are the reason why some parties are being voted for. For example, we could talk about...
That is why I said he met with Senator David Mark.
So you think he wants to run
you understand?
ABC?
Yeah, probably he is in the coalition.
So what happens to the likes of
you understand? So today, if PDP, for example, if PDP decided to join the coalition and to do merger with ADC, where Jonathan stand, where Jerry Ghana stand, these are the issues. You understand?
Very well.
These are the politically intrigue that politicians need to work with it. You understand? Because you cannot rule out. PDP is a sinking ship. You understand? They have zoned their presidency to the south.
Did you just say PDP is a sinking ship?
Yeah, it's a sinking ship. You understand?
This is the first time I hear you admit that.
Well, from the activities of recent activities shows that PDP will not.
There was a successful Congress in Kwara State.
You see, state chapters are different from the neck.
But they could come up again.
Is different from the neck.
Okay.
You understand? And NWC and Board of Trustees. You understand? Those are the highest decision-making body of the PDP. Those organs are the highest decision making in the party. Now, if the decision, the NEC decided that we can't go alone, we can't win, we will lose more members, more state governors, more senators, more House of Reps, more local government chairmen, more councillors, more state assemblies, it's better we join our colleagues, because it's their colleagues. Let's join our colleagues, our like minds, you understand, to build a stronger coalition and a party that will win election. That's how it is, you understand. But like I said, PDP zone their presidential to the south. Only God knows what happened. In 2 weeks' time, they withdrew that statement and said, we have thrown it open. Everybody will contest. So what does that mean?
The more the merrier.
Yeah, you understand? So they realize we are sinking.
True.
And in counter PDP, APC also said there is no zoning. Our contest 2027 is open to all Nigerians. It's a counter move. So this is what politics is all about. If APC has captured most of some of the governors, like 4 governors of PDP, like 18 senators and 22 House of Rep members from PDP, and when PDP join the coalition and form a merger with ADC, they will come back. People will come back to PDP because nobody is happy with APC. Nobody is enjoying APC. Not Nigerians, not the politicians, not the civil servant, not the business people in Nigeria.
Well, people say it's a long road to actually getting a breakthrough. Maybe that's what we're going through right now. Don't you think?
I think, well, but let me tell you, 2027 is just around the corner. In fact, it is even knocking our door.
And of course, we know that even 1 minute is still very important in the political
Yes.
scene. All right. Thank you so much for that. Habib, Gajo. Now let's talk about Nigeria's 65th independence. It's been 65 years coming. A 65-year-old is not a child. Probably, if we look at it properly, a 65-year-old man probably has a child or has grandchildren already. So which means that a 65-year-old should not still be wobbling or struggling to make headway or struggling to find their purpose in life. What comes to mind when you talk about Nigeria's independence at 65? What comes to your mind?
Alabedi, let me remind you something.
Okay.
Today, you are saying Nigeria is 65.
In the next 2 days.
In the next 2 days. Our last conversation, you started counting Nigerian democracy as 22-year-old. Is it 22 or 24?
Uninterrupted 25.
25 years. I said you can't measure Nigeria from 1999. You remember that argument?
That's
Now,
like 26 years already, not even 25.
Now, 65 years of independence. There is development, there is improvement, you understand?
Very well.
There is progress, and there is problems, there is lack of trust within the politician and Nigerian citizens, and there is a lot of issues on ground, more especially under when you talk of development, development, innovation, modernization, and diplomatic alliance and engagement, and also so many of them, you understand. Issue of national security, issue of economy that was not handled properly from 1960 to date. Those who brought independence to us, or who fought for the independence and brought the independence, they brought it with genuine intention, genuinely to unite Nigeria, to make Nigeria a prosperous country, and also a development and growth, economic growth for Nigerians. But unfortunately, the military took over and killed some of the politicians, you understand?
Very well.
And we are back to, because military government is like a colonial government, or is a second to a colonial government, or like what Kwame Nkrumah has said, colonialism has not ended because we have neo-colonialists among us. So for that, from 1960...
Okay, Mr. Gajo, due to our time though, because I know we still have more days to discuss this independence, but due to our time, if you would speak to our leaders, what would you say to them in 1 minute?
They unite this country. One, they should fight insecurity and make progress in our economy and open businesses for Nigeria and make democracy be the rule of law that everybody will benefit. Justice, freedom, and justice is very important and key to the independent people of a state.
Thank you so much, Habib Gajo. It's a good place to anchor the conversation. We really appreciate you today. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
All right, viewers, as we look forward to the Independence Day, I hope you have an independent mind to always embrace your neighbors and be very happy. At the same time, Nigeria is a work in progress. What gets in there? That's it for today. I am Olamide Alhassan, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye for now.